Welcome everybody to the October 26th architecture meeting. Let me drop the meeting notes in so everybody has it. So, and let me share my screen. So, Arvin, let me just run through what I have on my list, and then we'll jump over to the discussion around open telemetry.
Okay.
Hi, Kat.
Hey, yo.
Hi, Kat.
Hang on, I'm struggling with Zoom today. It's fighting with me. Kat, there's the meeting notes for this one. I just dropped it in the chat. So just a quick update. I noticed over the weekend and earlier in the week that our security score for Ortelius on Artifact Hub basically tanked. And what was happening is normally we have, thanks to Arvin and Sasha, running Renovate to go ahead and do bump the versions and stuff like that and keep everything current. But there seems to be an issue, I think it's resolved, with some network problems between PyPy and some of the Docker registries. I don't know if it was specifically to GCR or which one. It was hard to tell. I didn't know. I went and looked at like network statuses and stuff like that of the different systems, but they were working fine. But it seems to have self-corrected overnight.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was weird because I would do like I was running into this more so locally than through the GitHub Actions. You try to do like a pip install of the requirements file, and it would get like halfway through, and then it all of a sudden would get like these weird hash problems, or you just get these connections closed messages all the time. And that was actually happening with Alpine as well. When we were doing like an APK add of something, it would go through the list of all the dependencies, and then all of a sudden it'll say like bad zip file for such and such package. So something weird was going on. Like I said, it basically self-corrected overnight,
Okay.
from what I can tell.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, though, trying it in a container, and you obviously did that. So fascinating.
Yeah, it was totally, I wouldn't say random. It was repeatable enough, but then it would go away. So you just try enough, and I actually did a script where I put a loop in for like installing the pip requirements file, and the first time would fail. It'd take like 3 or 4 times in the Docker build, and it would eventually
Giving it
succeed.
like a retry.
Yeah, it was the bizarrest thing.
That is weird.
And nobody out there in the world saying anything about it. So I think it just must have been some sort of network problem on
Cache somewhere or something.
some backbone or something like that was slow or something. So there's one last issue I found that I'm fixing this morning with one of our Docker builds. We actually had one of our microservices using the wrong base image. So I'll be fixing that this morning. And then Arvin, we just need one more approval on Arvin's PR. So Kat, I don't know if you're up to speed on our bounty process, but basically we got this grant from Ripple to do a bunch of work around the blockchain and around the XRPL blockchain. So we've tagged certain issues, mainly around the new release of Ortelius to deal with the blockchain. And in our process that we set up, you need, even though we don't have it in enabled in the on the GitHub side. We need three approvals from folks to before we can pay out somebody. And Arvin's
Okay.
PR that he did work on has two, so we just need one more on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just a process thing.
Sweet. Yeah, no, I'll jump onto that here. I'm on my phone at the second, but I'm about to go upstairs at my desk and I'll
No
hit that up.
hurry. No hurry on that.
Steve,
Yeah, go ahead,
please
Arvin.
add your PR. Please add your PR also. I posted it in the chat.
Oh,
PR
let me look.
115. We, we need two approval.
Oh, yeah, we need
Um,
that other one. Let me grab that.
yeah, yeah.
And let me just add in that. 115. It's being a pain. There we go. So that's one of my PRs that I have out there. Hacktoberfest. We have some new folks that have joined. One of them was having a problem with the easy CLA. I didn't have time to figure it out, so I just went and merged their update to the README file, and we'll kind of catch up on that if they do another PR, the CLA front. But we do have a couple people doing some work, some new folks, and not a lot of PRs yet, but we always have the mad rush before the end of the month.
Yeah, that's usually when it comes.
Yeah, everybody wants to get everything done on that front. So just keep a heads up for those. And basically, we just want to avoid any spam PRs.
Yeah.
So that's what I had on my list.
Cool. As far
Our
as any
uh,
updates that I have,
yeah, go ahead, Kat.
okay. So I'm working on the IAC piece, and you know that I've been making it into like company time expenditure, and in theory, it wouldn't have taken this long. But what I uncovered is that I'm creating a Pulumi provider for Kind, and uh, our provider development resources are pretty much garbage. Like literally nobody outside the company has created a current gen provider from scratch. So I am currently fixing Pulumi's provider developer documentation and tools um, as a precursor to writing the Kind provider, as a precursor to writing the Emporous deployment IAC. So sorry that I've chased that
Oh
down the rabbit hole and it's holding things up.
no, but it's one of those necessary evils. And what was it called? The client provider?
Kind provider, Kubernetes and Docker.
Yep, kind provider.
Yeah, for some reason we have all kinds of cool things we can do with Pulumi, but creating a kind cluster is not one of them yet. So I was going to do that.
That's cool. And is that something that your companies they're not squawking about it, are they?
What do you mean?
Well, you said you had initially you were like, I'm not sure if this is going to fit into my day
Oh,
job.
yeah. No. It is like a major uh, executive sponsored effort at this point.
Cool.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
something we have to do.
Yep.
If we don't do it, then we can't grow. So,
Right.
yeah. All right. Let's see. I'm at my desk. So
All right, cool. So just to kind of recap on, and this is going to lead into what Arvin brought up just before the meeting. So one of the things with Ortelius is you want to keep grabbing additional information and associating it to the components and application versions. I created a couple issues out there to pull in things like the test results. So like in a GitHub action, you can do like a trivia with this static code analysis. That creates a certain file that we can grab and associate to our component version. Other things that create that same type of file are going to be like the OpenSSF scorecard. A couple weeks ago, we had a meeting with Zap Proxy, which is another open source project, and they do dynamic testing. And they throughout this whole thing is we want to bring in more of that type of information into the component version. Along with that, we'll want to bring in things like the Jenkins file or the GitHub action itself. We want to bring in that information and version that, because we'll need those files down the road to start doing some AI ML. We need the data for that process down the road. So we'll be bringing those in as part of it. Like when you get into a Jenkins file, because they have libraries and stuff, we won't be able to grab everything, but we'll actually have the base driver for just to start with at that level. And then we'll have a link to the log. The logging is going to be up in the air. And Arvin, you suggested that we bring in telemetry data. Is that correct?
Yes. Open tenantly, and for tracing, we have to use like any UI like Jigger or Dynatrans, something like that.
Right. Well, that stuff is going to come from the runtime environment, right? Like you're going to put
Yes.
Dynatrace against your production cluster.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it will raise errors. Like if we create any issue, sometimes the main problem is that uh, it's difficult to recreate that issue locally. So
Right.
Dynatrans or any tracing UI that gives us more information about that issue. So it will be easier for us.
Yeah, I have to think about because that's like a runtime um kind of data capture. We'll have to figure out where that would live, because we have the concept of an environment. So you can you can record that an application version was deployed to the QA environment. Now, like the Dynatrace against the QA will be different than the Dynatrace against production. So I think what we'll need to do is somehow make that link between the application, the environment, and then the data collection piece. So
Uh,
we'll probably have to need like a new object or something like that.
I think we need it only for the production environment because the main issue that we are solving are related to our customers.
Right. Well, if we make the solution so we figure out how to do it for production, it'll actually, if they want to enable it for other environments, it would work. fine. Because if you look at Uber's production environment, I think they run in every single region and every single AWS installation data center across the world. So production is like over 150 Kubernetes clusters or something like that for Uber.
Yeah, we have also a lot of microservices.
Yeah. Is there any other data that anybody can think of that we um, are missing? I did run across uh, some interesting information that I found. I was at a conference last week up in Colorado Springs. Um, it's called ISAC. Basically, it's the cybersecurity for space vehicles. So satellites, rockets. They're talking about, what happens when you build like the space lab, and then they are basically hinting that we'll be having somebody on the moon relatively shortly, a space station on the moon as a habitat that's going to happen relatively soon, is what they're hinting at.
I still
So
have this crazy moonshot that I'll help build data centers on the moon. I know it's
there you
not going to
go.
happen, but I want it to happen.
It actually they're moving along pretty quick. It's surprising. And some of the things that they were talking about that uh, was interesting. One of the talks had to do with, how do you secure like the supply chain for a satellite? Now, when they talk about securing a supply chain for a satellite, they're not only talking about the hardware, but also includes the software side of things, how the software is built and maintained on a satellite. So that was interesting. And one of the things that one of the speakers brought up is uh, that MITRE actually is, I think it's called MITRE ATT&CK, has a matrix of all the different attack vectors. And, this big matrix that you can then cross-reference the CVE with on that front. So I'm going to look at what data we can cross-reference on that front as well. So there's some more security data that we can kind of bubble up into Ortelius at that level.
Cool.
And just a weird side note, one of the talks was on space weather. So if you have like a solar flare,
Mhm.
and if the solar flare disrupts the operator from driving the satellite, how do you tell that it's actually space weather or the satellite's being hacked?
Right. That's a really cool puzzle right there. I
Isn't
like
it?
it.
They have some crazy stuff that they're focusing on, and it's like they're trying to predict space weather so they can then, and they have no way, they know they have like one team that's doing space weather and they have another team that's controlling and monitoring the space assets, but they're not talking to each other yet. So
Yeah, it is actually really interesting because I had one of my best professional friends was working at the Solar Observatory, which is headquartered out of Boulder, Colorado, at the university there. And I mean, the level of fidelity just in the observations that they make and the predictions that they're able to kind of assess for like all kinds of solar weather and how that affects terrestrial and near terrestrial objects. Like they have the data for sure, so that
Yeah.
we could turn that into like published forecasts consumable by, automated, you know, it's weird to think that you actually have to anticipate disruptions like that, but it makes sense that we have to.
Yeah, and when you because it's one of those things, they know it's coming, they can see it, but they don't have enough infrastructure in place to figure out how to notify people, and which assets are actually going to be impacted, because they've seen certain space events only impact certain regions of the Earth. So a solar flare based on the rotation of the Earth will only hit India, for example, but the rest of the world will be fine. It's crazy.
No,
Something
that's
else
actually
that's
really cool. I like how that is relevant to explaining like high demand use cases where UOR would be really great because you can scope attributes to geographic locations and points in time.
so
And
another
then
one
downstream
that's
consumers of those broadcasts can like just do what you call it, rectify against their trajectory.
Right.
another
That's
one that's
cool.
going on is NASA's actively qualifying companies to build space mining robots, including there's one in Albuquerque that turns out to not be doing it very well. But one of my brothers is one of the evaluators of them. But there are a number of those going on with the expectation they'll be mining on the moon in the next few years.
Yeah, and
And
also mining asteroids.
Yep, there's a mission on the way now.
So
Mining asteroids sounds less dangerous than changing the mass of the moon, but who am I? I'm not a scientist.
It's not going to change the mass of the moon very much by what people can mine.
right.
I mean, sure. It always starts out with the best of anticipated, outcomes.
Well, what we need is like a giant lithium asteroid to float by so we can have our batteries.
We have huge lithium deposits in multiple states in the United States. We're just not allowed to mine them.
One
Right.
of which is New Mexico, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah, New Mexico and Maine.
I didn't know New Mexico had a
Yeah, it's
lithium.
in south central
Yep.
New Mexico in the deep brine reservoirs. You've got heavy, comparatively speaking, lithium content.
Interesting. I knew there was one in either Nevada or Arizona.
Well, there's an active mine in Nevada
Okay, that's the one.
and the Salton Sea area in California. They're starting to build up lithium mining. So, Kat's absolutely right. There's this stuff a lot of places.
Yeah.
But what they're looking at on the moon at the moment, hey Sasha, is helium-3. And I got to tell you, if they managed to mine a whole lot of helium-3, the mass of the moon wouldn't be affected by much. It doesn't weigh much.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Helium-3 would actually be a pretty cool resource to
Yeah.
have a
That'd be a nice
reasonable supply.
power supply. Anyways, so
Speaking of on topic,
yes,
Now that Sasha's here, we can close the call.
yeah.
nice.
So, Kat, why don't you just give Sasha a quick update on your Pulumi kind provider stuff?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, in a maddening dash down the rabbit hole, I was writing the Pulumi IAC for the quick start on Emporous, obviously, and then that led to realizing that Pulumi does not have a provider for kind Kubernetes or any other local Kubernetes testing tools. So I was like, hey, I guess I'll write a provider because that's cool and I can use my work, job, professional hours allocated into that. And then I got into writing providers, found out that we have 3 ways of writing providers, and only one of them is a good way. Later found out we have 4 ways, and I have accidentally used all 4 techniques in the same provider, which is a terrible plan. I should only use one technique. And so I'm currently going through the process of fixing Pulumi's provider development documentation and things like that, which is a pretty disgusting deviation from the planned course of action. But I am circling back, so I will be writing the Emporous Quick Start. Unfortunately, at the moment, it means solving Pulumi problems before solving Emporous problems. So
Sasha, you're not behind yet. You're still on track.
yeah. But what will end up happening is there's a hackathon coming up in November, internal to Pulumi. I'm going to create an alternative cloud IAC package manager function in the Pulumi CLI, which would be something sort of comparable to Helm. So, and I want to store that in OCI, UOR. So in the end, it all feeds back into the same project. It's just a colossal tangent of side quests en route to the ultimate destination.
That's
so ultimately, we all blaming Steve.
Yeah, you just blame me.
Okay, Steve, it's all your fault.
Yes,
Yeah.
I sent you down this path when you didn't really need to go. No, we definitely need to get there. And when you're doing that work, Kat, just think about. I know Sasha likes to use local stack a lot.
Yeah.
So that would be another. I think Sasha is mostly like a local AWS is local stack.
What it is. It's the whole AWS
Yeah.
cloud on your machine in a container.
Cool.
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that. It's definitely something worth thinking about. So I will.
That's cool.
Damn
that you
it,
can
that's a
work on it.
convincing idea. It also requires some other side quests. So I'm not going to pick it up right away, but
No.
I like it.
Yeah, it's cool that you can work on it as part of Pulumi and make Pulumi better, which is cool, right? That's pretty cool. Like it's a
Yeah,
double.
I usually do this really dumb codependent strategy where I make everything that I'm involved in dependent on each other, and then it inevitably like spirals out of control. But on occasion, it includes these like super cool big wins for everyone involved. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed, I'll make it across the finish line.
Yeah, and then we've run into this before where people what's that online one you can run? Killer Coda. Thank you. So we'll get folks that want to basically do a killer coda because you can kind of do like the instructions and the steps and stuff like that all kind of like tied together. I've had Kind running up there, and also I've got Ranchers K3S running up in killer coda. So that would
I
be.
have not used Katacoda or Killer Coda or like a bunch of these platforms. So when we get to that point, I might like pair with you on it just to kind of scope out what needs to be done and what the ultimate outcome is, because I don't have that in my head.
Yeah, no problem. It's just it just has some weird little tweaks, and I think once you get the bigger problem solved down the road, being able to make the tweaks for K3S, Killer Coda, local stack, I think should be pretty easy.
Okay, that'd be cool.
That's my guess right now.
Also, we have like Digital Ocean right now, and I have almost $195 credits in my accounts. So I think we can experiment a lot.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Let me know, Kat or Steve, if you need an invite. I will add you to that team.
Not yet.
Yep.
Let's hold off on that, and then when we get closer, we can send out the invites. Because if you send it now, Arvin, I'll lose it.
Same.
But I have to use it before December 8th.
Oh,
before,
so the
then the
pressure's on
Ortelius will
cat.
be gone.
Okay,
Yeah, that doesn't destroy
cool.
it. Do anything with
Well,
this
after
solution.
my barrages meetings, I'm working exclusively on the kind provider today. So
Nice. All right. Anything else?
I know this is maybe not quite in line, but I'm just saying I'm building for my own company. I'm building a K3s Kubernetes environment, and just to share it, because in that environment I will run local stack so that my local developers can develop microservices and develop against a cloud provider like AWS without having to use AWS because of the cost, right? And security
yeah,
implications and other things. That might be something that we could do for Ortelius some way. And I'm
hey,
using
so
zero tier to connect a whole lot up.
does local
Yeah.
stack run on Kubernetes or is it?
Kubernetes, the Helm
Oh,
chart. I'll
cool!
stick
I did not realize that.
yeah, no, it's really cool in that sense, right? So you could load balance it, you could have many replicas running,
Yeah,
so I'll put a
cool.
link there for you. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah,
And I'm using Postgres as the database for Kubernetes. Pretty rad.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. It works so cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have
Native-
also set up main IO Docker container, which is like running S3 bucket locally.
For that, ask that again.
Main IO, which is like S3 buckets was running locally. I will share the link.
So, Sasha, kind of on that front, we did come up with, Tracy came up with a use case around, was it zero?
Zero tier.
Zero tier,
Hmm.
where we could, stand up a dedicated machine somewhere that, would be running Ortelius. And then if people want to come in and kick the tires or something like that, that we would provide them a zero tier like connection so they can connect to it that way instead of doing like a
Yeah.
VPN type of thing.
Yeah, you don't need a VPN and it's super secure because it's all local IP. It's private IP. So it has to be, it's an invite only, right? So you would have to approve the person. And another thought on that is also it just makes it so much easier for people to get access to that kind of thing, and there's actually something else I wanted to say, but now I can't remember. It's so irritating. Anyway, it's a nice environment to use,
Yeah, so I think that may be a good use case where we have, instead of running Ortelius on like Azure like we were doing before,
Yeah,
that we just stand it up locally on, because I can hunt down a decent sized machine and run it locally,
Yeah.
and then just like you said, invite people into kick the tires type of thing.
And I'm using Core DNS as my DNS server outside of Kubernetes to get familiar with Kubernetes' DNS infrastructure. Right? Core DNS is like super powerful, but it's taking me a while to get my head around it.
Yeah, it's a complicated product.
Yeah, it is. I'm using two HA proxies. I'm using HA proxy because you can sync the two together as failover, which is better than Nginx in that sense. You can have a floating IP with keep alive D.
Right.
So I've got a floating IP with the two HA proxies behind that, and they can fail over between each other. Whereas Nginx, you can't do that.
Well, that may be something that we need to look at for the new version of Ortelius is using HA proxy instead of Nginx.
VRRP, virtual routing something. Yeah, that's what it's done. Yeah.
The only thing that we'll need to make sure is that the HA proxy is configured as a reverse proxy to the microservices.
Yeah, I should write a blog for Ortelius. That's what I should do.
Yep.
I'll do that. Cool. Sorry, I just want to
How is it different from the caddy server? That's a proxy one.
What is that?
Caddy server is also like a reverse proxy and alternative of Nginx.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I've used it. It works really well. We use it In my work,
I
we use K.
Oh, I just looked at the
mm,
link that Arvin
I
dropped
share
in.
the
Yeah. So
and also the cardinal.
so when Tracy's out in Monterey for the Linux Foundation meeting, and the guys from the Guac team brought up a potential issue that we need to do some research on, is that the Arango DB license is changing, kind of like Terraform did, where if you're a competitor, you can't use it, type of scenario. So I think we're going to be okay because we're not a database competitor. But I have to look to see in the parent company if there are any products that would compete with Ortelius. So that may be a little hiccup. I don't think we're going to have any problems, but I think we should be pretty set on that front. But I got to do some research on that. And the reason why I bring that up is just that that link you sent, the mini IO or min IO, that one's the Ephemeral, which is the same concept. A Feral allows you to use the open source, but you can't commercialize it without permissions. So that's one of those weird ones.
Cool.
Cool.
Well, as long as we're not in the licensing line of fire, it's fine. Then.
We have to like look for
Cool. Anything else?
No.
Did everybody grab the links from the chat?
I also put them in Discord in case.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Drop them in Discord. That way they'll persist. Zoom will save the meeting chat as text if we need to on my side if we need to get back to them. But all right, any other comments, questions, concerns? All righty. So Sasha, I don't know if you saw Tony's chat about the DNS, core DNS. If you can drop that link in Discord as well.
Yeah, so I'll put my config in the Discord too, so you can see what I'm doing there. But it is quite complex. It works with plugins. But
Cool.
see, we don't have a DNS server at the office. It's just VMs running on OpenStack. So I have to set up my own DNS and everything. Yeah, it's working. I've got it working. Yeah,
Nice.
but it is complex. Yeah.
Yeah, DNS servers are always a headache to manage.
Yeah, they're a pain in the butt. Yeah.
The one I like to use is it was one that you would dynamically register the IP address over a simple like curl command or plugin, and was it like free DNS or something like that?
Mm.
And
it's called in Kubernetes, so I thought I might as well get familiar with it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'll find the other DNS that I've used in the past that allows you to do basically dynamic configuration, and they have like a time to live of like 10 seconds, so it makes it really easy for you to it's dynamic DNS is the name of the company. I'll drop it in Discord as well.
Oh, DNS. So if your IP keeps changing, you can serve up pages off it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had to host something here at home, I would have to use that because I can't get a static IP, public IP.
Yeah. But I'll drop the link in chat.
also
Cool.
I have to give an update. I have set up the local serverless function testing using Kubernetes in my DigitalOcean, and I actually use the Pulumi script to set up all this stuff. So it's
Nice.
currently running in my system. Let me share my screen really quick.
Yep.
Wait a second. Yeah. So that's my screen is visible.
It's coming across now. There, we got it.
And that is visible now.
And what's this doing, Arvin? What's it deploying to?
DigitalOcean. That's my coding. That's my VS code is visible.
Yeah, we can see the VS Code.
Yeah. So I just wrote a normal script in which I am creating a DigitalOcean cluster, and I am like deploying three stuff: the Nginx ingress pod in a pod. In the second pod, I am like installing a normal Nginx pod, and in the third one, I am deploying OpenFast using the Helm chart. So we use OpenFast for the serverless function testing, and it is visible. Like my I grabbed the IP address from the my DigitalOcean Kubernetes cluster stuff, which is like running here, and my function, which is it is the cluster, and it is all the load balancer that is built, and it's running fine in the load balancer stuff. So it
Nice.
is like running on that. Yeah, it's loading. Wait a second. Yeah. So it's like running, and I have made a custom Docker serverless function, which is I deployed it in my Docker hub, and if I invoke hello Sammy,
Perfect.
so like I have set up local setup for running serverless function using in Kubernetes,
Very nice. And what in
and
your function, is it in Go or Python?
I have written TypeScript.
Oh, TypeScript. All right.
Yeah, but I can convert it in Go.
Yeah, just curious.
Here is the code. It's like pretty small code, but
Yep.
it's like it's working fine, and it's also like available in the local host. So it will be available soon. I'm not sure, but it was like available in the local host also.
Yeah, you may not have your
The
local
main
host running.
caveat is running now. Like it was like port forwarding it to localhost, so I have to use the server type load balancer to actually use the my IP address. So the
Right.
main problem is that it is creating the tree balancer for all the tree stuff. So I have to like do that. So I have to create one load balancer and it will like connect to all three stuff. And yeah, that's all. And it cost is like very low. So I'm
Right.
running it every day. Yeah.
Very nice.
Well,
Good to know.
yeah. Let me know if you want, if we have like any serverless setup stuff or serverless testing, then we can use this setup anytime.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that because right now we have the functionality that we need to do is a little bit beyond a serverless function. So we don't have right now anything scoped out for like a Lambda function at this point. But it's good to know that we can do it, so we may run across those use cases then, and then we'll be able to use your solution.
Yes. And that the main IO one that I shared, I am also running it locally using Docker container. So I have to just log in and it will be work fine.
Cool.
So yeah, that's all I have to share.
Excellent. Anybody else have anything? All right. Thank you, everybody. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care all.
Did you at least
Yeah.
attend
Have a
the
great
quality
day.
meeting?